Primetime Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Primetime Local News. Connor Chin, Elise Darwish here. As always, we got lots coming up on the show today, including our question of the day segment. What do you do? What's your worst example of procrastination? There's a lot of things that people could say. School, personal things.
Yeah, I think for me, it's mostly anything around the house, like chores or anything that needs to be fixed. Like I said in the first hour, light bulbs, they'll be burnt out for a while. I don't change them.
Have you done your taxes yet as well?
I have actually,
okay,
so that's good. I haven't procrastinated on that, so that's good. Yeah.
Well, that's always a good thing. That's pretty important nonetheless. Yeah. But we'll have all this and more coming up later on in the show, but right now let's head over to Josh Ryan, who's on location.
Thank you very much, Connor. Still at Three Trees Tap and Kitchen. 3 hours to go on Tapped Out, the first event they've done with the Parkinson Association of Alberta, also in conjunction, of course, with Fourth Meridian Brewing Company and Ribstone Creek Brewery as well. Both those companies have a cask on hand, so you can try out their new flavors, a few other available as well. Plenty of food, obviously, and it's just starting to fill up over the past 20 minutes. It should get more full as the next hour goes on. So you have plenty of time, again, till 9 o'clock when this thing ends. Your dollars will support Parkinson Association of Alberta. We're going to throw it now back to Elise Darwish with a look at your local news.
Great, thank you, Josh. Well, we begin tonight with a house fire that broke out this afternoon on 4800 block of 53rd Street. Lloydminster Fire and RCMP responded to multiple 911 calls around 2 p.m. where heavy smoke was evident on multiple sides of a single-family home.
Fire crews managed to contain the fire quickly, but there is evidence of fire extension throughout the building. Fire crews will be working towards mitigating that, and the fire is currently under investigation.
No occupants were in the house during the time of the fire. The City of Lloydminster will see a rehabilitation project move forward at the Lloydminster Municipal Airport. The rehabilitation project comes after the city received over $5.2 million in federal grant funding from Transport Canada's Airport Capital Assistant Program. The money will go towards renovating a number of areas at the airport, including the pavement on the runway.
Because your asphalt surface wears down just like a highway, it does have to be resurfaced. This has been a process that the city's been under, I understand, for some time with Transport Canada and making them aware that our asphalt was getting to a point that it's been down for 18 years. It was in due condition for replacement.
Mayor Albers says that maintaining the runway is key to ensure the safety of passengers.
People have shared with me as they rode down the WestJet plane down the tarmac. They've noticed it's got a little bit of bump to it, as asphalt does have that after a while. So it's important to try and maintain the safety first, as well as the any wear and tear on airplanes, any further wear and tear on airplanes from a deteriorating surface. So we want to maintain a good quality surface, namely for safety.
The Lloydminster Municipal Airport has received more than $7.9 million through the ACAP funding and have seen over 14,000 passengers come through in 2018. The Lloydminster Salvation Army is in need of more donations for their food bank. The food bank is out of macaroni and cheese and toilet paper and is also looking for donations to fill their kids' kits.
We also have a lot of other things that we're quite low on. We have a Kids Kits program, so these are food items that go out to certain kids every week. So juice boxes, ravioli, alfaghetti, sidekicks.
The food bank is in need of normal food donations to fill their standard hampers as well.
Pretty much the same type of items all the time, because we have a standard hamper that we pack, and then we try to put any extras in it that individuals need specifically.
Donations can be made at the Salvation Army Community Church from Monday to Friday. And a poutine-filled week is a way to raise money kicks off tomorrow. Big Brothers and Big Sisters is fundraising through the sale of specialized poutine.
So Poutine Week YLL is 7 restaurants that have created a signature dish just for this week, and for the sale of each of those signature dishes, they are donating $3 to Big Brothers Big Sisters to help support the ongoing children's mentoring programs that we do here.
During the week, you can vote on which poutine dish you like the best through social media.
So you take a picture of yourself eating the poutine, tag us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and put hashtag Poutine Week YLL and the restaurant you're at, and that's how you're voting for your personal choice for the week.
For more information and the full menu, you can visit Big Brothers Big Sisters website. And preparations for this year's presentation of Picha Kucha is underway, and as our Brett Holden explains in this week's Beyond the Classroom, the planning process has been a little different.
And when I say anything and everything, I literally mean anything and everything.
Brianna Wempe and Reed Turcott are two of the 10-plus members of this year's Picha Kucha, a process they say has seemed like a long one, but a fun one.
We started beginning of March, I believe, and we've gotten together about once a week just to practice, our speech and the formation of our presentations.
This year, the group is comprised of students from the Catholic and public school divisions to change the students' welcome.
It's been awesome because I don't really know a whole lot of people from the public division, so I've gotten to meet some new friends and work alongside some awesome youth from all across Lloydminster, not just my school.
The theme for this year's show is craft, a subject that can be interpreted in many different ways.
So when I was thinking of craft, I didn't really think of much. I thought of, when I think of craft, I think of arts and crafts, and then I think of running with scissors. So I had to take a step back and reevaluate, and then I thought, with crafts comes creativity, right? And then with creativity comes everything that you create.
And the students feel the impact their words can have is the most important part.
I think it's a great opportunity for youth to get public speaking practice. It's pretty nerve-wracking getting in front of an audience the size of Vic Juba and telling not just any story, but like a very personal story. Some of the stories are extremely personal about family and about previous struggles. So it's a great opportunity to kind of get out of your comfort zone around such a supportive group of people.
Picha Kucha starts May 7th. For This Week and Beyond the Classroom, I'm Brett Holden.
Beyond the Classroom is brought to you by Lakeland College. Apply to the hairstyling program and take the lead working with clients in the on-campus salon. Lakeland College, leading learning since 1913.
And now we're going to go to Josh Ryan, who is live on location tonight.
Thank you very much, Elise. Back at Three Trees Tap and Kitchen, joined once again by Client Services Coordinator Sherry Bauer-Gagne. Thank you again for joining me, Sherry. Now, for those many of you who are watching out there, you know the effect of Parkinson's, you've seen the effect on your loved ones, but for those who haven't experienced it firsthand, maybe can you put into terms why it's so important that we do everything we can to tackle treating this disease?
Well, the early onset thing is one of the biggest things because some of the symptoms start a long time before you're ever diagnosed. And what we start thinking is that it's an older person's disease. It's not. Some of my clients and members in the community, some of them have been diagnosed as young as 33 years old. We all know about Michael J. Fox, yes?
Yeah, you got the actor's name correct.
Yes, I did. And so we're all familiar with him and being diagnosed earlier in his 30s. Well, that's true. So that's the big thing, is to get some of those symptoms down. And if you see any of the symptoms, like the tremoring or the fatigue, the handwriting changes, the shuffling starts, any of those types of symptoms, get those things checked, because if we catch it early, then what happens is we can do different types of symptom management before you get into a lot of medication, and then after, a lot of that stuff can also benefit you when you're taking your medication, because it kind of keeps those levels low.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about some of the more recent breakthroughs in terms of treating the disease? Because I know we were kind of talking off camera that with brain stimulation particularly, there's been a bit of a game changer.
Yeah, DBS, or deep brain stimulation. I know a lady in our region that has had the deep brain stimulation, and yeah, it has been a game changer for her. And what happens is they do implants in the brain, and then a cord runs down, and it's like a pacemaker that sits underneath the skin on your chest, and it stimulates the brain And yeah, like she's got mobility. They're back taking holidays now. She's missed the last 3 support groups because they're out in Mexico enjoying the sun. So yeah, absolutely game changer. And for her, she had early onset as well. And what happens is levodopa, it kind of starts to decrease its benefits. So then, of course, then she was a good candidate for that.
Absolutely. That's certainly encouraging to hear for everyone out there. And I encourage all of you, if you can, to come down and check out Three Trees here where they'll be running the event until 9 p.m. Plenty of great food and great drinks as well. For now, let's head back to the studio. Connor has your weather.
All right, thanks very much, Josh. Taking a look at your current temperature again, 8 degrees right now, mostly cloudy, a little bit of sunshine for us here in the border city. Taking a look at some records for this time of year, 19 degrees, our warmest day back in 2015, while our coldest day was minus 18 back in 1992. The winds, though, died down compared to yesterday, down to 11 kilometers an hour coming in from the northwest. Take a look at our satellite radar map, lots of cloud coverage that was coming in throughout the day, and it'll continue to come in for the next couple of days as we're going to have some cloudy and sunny days, which will showcase later on in our 7-day forecast here. Take a look at the weather's other temperatures across our areas. 9 degrees right now in Edmonton and Athabasca, 8 degrees for Cold Lake, 7 degrees out in Red Deer and Rocky Mountain House, 10 degrees for Edson and Whitecourt, 9 degrees out in North Battleford currently, 2 degrees for Melfort, 5 for Prince Albert, 8 degrees for Saskatoon, and 12 degrees for Meadow Lake. Let's take a look at our regional temperatures, go a little more in depth to them. -3 overnight for North Battleford with cloudy skies, warming up to 7 degrees tomorrow with cloudy skies, with the wind, though, still reaching close to 30 kilometers an hour coming in from the southeast. 0 degrees overnight in Cold Lake with cloudy skies, warming up to 10 tomorrow with a little bit of sun, but it's going to be a majority cloudy day with winds coming in from close to 15 kilometers an hour. Overnight here in Lloydminster, -1 overnight with cloud coverage, and then 9 degrees, for tomorrow with cloud coverage with winds reaching 20 kilometers an hour as well. Take a look at the next 3 days. We're going to have more sun on Friday with that low of -3 to start off, and then warms up to 9 degrees for the daytime high. Then -2 the daytime low on Saturday, warms up to 13 degrees as the daytime high with a sun and cloud mix there. Kind of similar to what we're having currently right now. That's a first look at your weather. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Prime-time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Welcome back. We continue our candidate profiles for the Alberta election. Our Stacey Comer sits down with UCP candidate for the Vermilion-Lloydminster Wainwright constituency, Garth Roswell.
Garth Roswell is joining us today, and Garth is the UCP candidate for Vermilion, Lloydminster Wainwright. Garth, I want to thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate you asking me. Thank you.
Well, I want to find out, first of all, why you chose this party to run for this party initially.
Well, I'm a conservative at heart, and I've been involved in federal and provincial conservative boards locally, and I've been going to the political annual general meetings where policies are passed and voted on for probably 12 years. So, and then I always was supporting the individuals that put their name forward, and I stayed in the background supporting.
Right.
But so I've come from the financial industry, and I was retiring from that, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to put my foot forward. You know, things that I saw were happening were concerning me, and so I wanted to go put my foot forward and do it. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the UCP party, what are some of the main platforms? Because obviously they have different views on all kinds of subjects. But for you and for this area, what are some of the main issues that you are using for your campaign platform?
Yeah, well, in the broad strokes, the parties is jobs, the economy, and pipelines. For myself, what I ran in on our nomination contest is I wanted to work towards a balanced budget. I wanted to reduce regulation, and just regulation costs money, and you need regulation, you need government, but it can get to be overdone to a point where it makes you not competitive. So I wanted to focus on that. And then the other one was I wanted to fight back on what I call the war on fossil fuels. So those were kind of the areas, the broad areas. More specifically, as I've been going around talking to individuals from an agricultural perspective, Rural crime is a big deal. Bill 6 was kind of thrust upon people and not a lot of consultation done from our perspective. And so we want to work on that one. And then rural crime, it's a big deal. Yeah.
So if you are successful, Garth, how close do you have to work then with the party leader? Do you have some say in how things can go, or is it a case where whatever the party policy is, you kind of really have to stick by that?
Well, Jason Kenney, when he came in, one of the things he promised was to have grassroots policy development.
Right.
So the way that we did that was he asked for submissions from whoever, and he got 1,300 of them.
Wow.
And then some were very similar, so they combined that, and that got it down to 750 resolutions. Then we went and everyone had a chance to vote on which ones they wanted to talk about at the AGM, and that got it down to about 100. And then we had regional meetings to get the 30 that actually made it to the AGM.
Right.
So when you vote on that at the AGM and it's passed, you've had your input through the policy development process, and caucus members are in a position where they can express their point of view all the time while they're in caucus. So when there's a policy there, even if you may not agree with it totally, it's gone through the process, it's the party's policy, and it doesn't mean you can't try to change it in the future, but
right, you still have a voice.
You still have a voice, absolutely, yeah.
So what is the most exciting thing about you, for you, for the upcoming election? Is it, do you like meeting the people? Is it just the whole rush of politics in general?
Well,
or?
you know, what I'm really looking for, like my areas of expertise are agriculture and finance. You know, I'm learning from oil. Like I expect, you know, 4 or 5 years from now, if I get in, that I'll know so much more about so many things.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to learn. And but the reason you're there as an MLA is to solve problems and help people navigate bureaucracy and listen to their issues and try to change things so you can fix problems. And that's what I view the job to be, and that's what I want to do.
Okay, well, Garth, thank you so much for joining us today. I wish you much luck
in
the campaign, and we'll be speaking to you again after the election.
Okay, well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay.
And now we'll take a look at your stock market prices for today.
We restore more than just property. We restore hope. When disaster strikes, call the one that can make it right. First General Services, your property restoration experts.
Welcome back. Go big or go home. That could easily be a mantra heading into the election. And Gerard Lampo finds out what Alberta beef wants from whoever forms the next government.
ABP strongly feels that Alberta Agriculture and Forestry Science Research and Innovation Framework be reworked.
As the province heads to the polls, Chair of Alberta Beef Charlie Christie is outlining his wish list. He feels Alberta agriculture needs to realign their research and extension priorities closer to the beef sector and focus on production-based research.
Priority areas for our industry are animal health and welfare, antimicrobial use and resistance, feed grains and feed efficiency, and environmental research focused on forage and grassland productivity, beef quality, and food safety.
He wants the ministry's researchers to be able to get grant funding from the province.
We need to open that process up where money can move more freely. We have great capacity within the province infrastructure, and we need to be able to get funding into their hands in a more streamlined fashion.
Christie says co-funding will also help to align industry and government priorities. He's pushing for forage research.
About 5 years back, the government and industry recognized that we were weak on forage research and weak on tying the research back to actually beef production. And with that recognition, the Alberta Beef Forage and Grazing Centre was created, and we'd really like to see that committed to.
Christie is also keen on extension research.
The recognition now that extension is a key part of research and getting the benefits of the dollars spent on research back to the producer is key in realizing the return on investment for research dollars.
Time will tell whether this wish list comes true. Gerard Lampow, Primetime Local News.
That's your egg news. Sports is next, but first we'll take a look at your egg prices.
Every member of the City Centre Auto Body team has been through extensive training. We're constantly upgrading our team's education to reflect current collision repair technique.
Taking a look at your local sports now, rugby season kicked off for Lloyd Comp yesterday. The Barons hosted Cold Lake at Armstrong Field, and if you trust a one-game sample, the team looks promising heading into spring. Josh Ryan has more.
If the Lloydminster Barons want to return to provincials, they'll have to go through Cold Lake to do so. And after a dominant 42-5 victory, the Barons are progressing faster than expected.
I was a little concerned about going in, how aggressive as a group we would be, and today we can be very physical and aggressive, which is a good sign.
Despite the score, Cold Lake still made the game physical, forcing Lloydminster's veterans to come up with big plays.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We definitely were pushed on our tackling in the forwards, and our rucks were needed to be a bit stronger too.
The performance bodes well for this group as they were without one of their key players in Venna Anderson.
So if we add her to the mix, then it's even more exciting.
Having a group of dedicated, experienced grade 11s and 12s has helped the younger athletes to transition.
So the girls are always helping each other out, showing them what to do and helping them just learn the positions and learn the game. And it's very nice to have multiple coaches in a way out on the field.
Most of them had played in the middle school years, so they've been pretty well. And then the girls that just started this year have caught on pretty quickly too.
With nearly 20 games ahead on the schedule, including their home tournament in May, the squad is focused on cleaning up any bad habits to peak at season's end.
We always want to play like more as a team rather than one person, and this year I think we want to place at provincials.
And their first big test will come next week against Strathcona.
They were at provincials as well last year, and so it'll be good for us to play a really strong competition and know where we stand going into provincials.
Josh Ryan, Primetime Local Sports.
The Bandit Energy AAA Bobcats presented their year-end awards this week. Chase Schmidt was named Most Valuable Player, while other award winners included defenseman Ben Bergrove for the Coaches Award and Rookie of the Year Javen Leslie. Both Bergrove and Leslie will be at the Junior A Spring Camp this weekend after committing to the Bobcats last month. And now we're going to go to Josh Ryan, who is live on location tonight.
Thank you very much. Back at the Tapped Out first of its kind event here at Three Trees, I'm joined by Ribstone Creek's assistant brewer, Brendan Opseth. Thank you for joining us, Brendan. Now, what special brew did you brew up for us this evening?
Well, we brewed a one-off beer at the brewery, which is a smoked ale. We use smoked malt infused with the rest of them to give it a really, really smoky flavor to it. Kind of like a good scotch almost. You'll find a good, solid, smoky flavor behind it.
Gotcha. And it was pretty exciting for you guys, obviously, to join in. What other kind of things are you looking forward to, other events this year?
Well, right away we got Craft International Beer Fest at Calgary coming up. We're waiting to hear back from the Canadian Brewing Awards. We've sent some beers into there. So that's always an exciting time, waiting to hear from them to see if we won anything. Other than that, just the regular beer shows coming down the line. Calgary's first at the beginning of May, and then Edmonton Beer Show is at the end of May. So other than that, we're right into summer and kind of moving forward.
Full slate for you guys, basically.
It's a full slate for sure. Always busy in the beer industry.
And really quickly to wrap up here, just how important is it for you to be involved in the community, especially with an event like this for Parkinson's, whether it's a personal anecdote or just in general, you guys being involved in the community?
Well, you know, we're a small town brewery. Love getting involved in the small towns and just getting a lot of guys out to drink the small town brewing.
Fair enough. Thank you for joining us once again. Running till 9 p.m. this evening, Tapped Out at Three Trees Tap and Kitchen. You can catch more of their beer here as well as plenty of great food as well. Let's send it back to Connor and Elise in studio.
All right, thanks very much, Josh. Take a look at this gorgeous weather shot here sent to us there by Dale, so thank you for that. If you have a weather photo you want to send to us, send it to us through social medias or at tvnews@stingray.com. Let's take a look at some other temperatures right now. 8 degrees right now currently for us here in Lloydminster. 8 degrees also out in Bonnyville, Vermilion. 12 in Vegreville. 11 out in Marwayne. 6 degrees in Pierceland and St. Paul. 12 degrees in both Provost and Macklin. 9s for both Wainwright and Edmonton. 9 also out in North Battleford and St. Walburg. 11 degrees out in Meadow Lake, 7 degrees in Isle La Crosse, and 10 degrees out in Maidstone. Take a look at some other temperatures. 8 degrees in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, 5 degrees for La Ronge, 3 degrees for Flin Flon, 4 for South End, 5 for Wollaston Lake, and 6 for Stony Rapids. On the Alberta side, 11 degrees for Peace River, 10 degrees for Slave Lake, 9 degrees for Grand Prairie right now, 7 in Fort McMurray, 10 in Fort Chipeway, and 15 degrees in High Level. Take a look at southern Alberta, 11 degrees currently right now in Lethbridge, 12 degrees in Medicine Hat, as well as in Coronation, 7 degrees for Calgary, and 8 degrees out in Banff. 7 degrees right now currently in Swift Current, 6 degrees right now in Moose Jaw, 5 for Regina, 12 degrees also out in Kindersley, -1 in Yorkton, and -2 out in Estevan. Let's take a look at temperatures for tomorrow. 9 degrees will be the daytime high for us here in Lloydminster, 8 degrees out in Maidstone, 7 for North Battleford, 10 degrees in both Provost and Macklin, 10 degrees also out in Meadow Lake, 9 for Green Lake, Vermilion sitting at 10 degrees, Vegreville sitting at 12, Wainwright at 11, Cold Lake, Bonnyville, Pierceland, and St. Paul, are all sitting at 10 degrees, 11 degrees out in Lac La Biche, and 9 degrees for Edmonton. Let's take a look at your school day forecast one last time here. 0 degrees at 8 a.m. for that bus ride or walk to school. Recess time should be some great weather there with a sun cloud mix there, warming up to 3 degrees. Lunchtime, when that lunchtime recess kicks in, should be nice 6 degrees with sun and clouds. Then more clouds will start to roll in at home time at 9 degrees. Take a look at the next 7 days. It's going to be cloudy for the most part with mostly sun and cloud mixes. 9 on Friday. 13 degrees on Saturday, 14 degrees on Sunday, 11 for Monday and Tuesday, and 13 degrees on Wednesday. So very nice temperatures in terms of double digits. We'll see over the next little bit here. The winds are starting to die down compared to what they were last week. We're still around the averages for this time of year. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Thanks very much once again. We're here at the Three Trees Tap and Kitchen for the first ever Tapped Out, and I'm joined by the owner, Jim Spenrath. Jim, thank you for joining us and for putting on, of course, Parkinson Association of Alberta, a great cause. You recently went through a bit of a change because you guys were once Rock Creek. You are no longer Rock Creek. So tell us about just when it went into making that change.
Well, we were part of a really small franchise group, and over time we became quite independent. And eventually we got to the point where, from a creative perspective in terms of menus and menu development and marketing and that sort of thing, it just made sense for us to do our own thing completely. So in January we made that move and became Three Trees.
And now, so what sort of opportunities are afforded to you now because you're no longer not at the yoke of something else, but you do have some freedoms that you didn't have before?
When you're independent, you're very nimble. So if you want to do things like a fundraiser, you don't need corporate approval. You don't need approval for menu changes that are appropriate for our market and those sort of things.
Absolutely. Now, you obviously have supported many local causes over the years, being a local company. What in particular stands out to you about this cause with Parkinson's?
Well, I was born and raised in Lloydminster, so I have a pretty deep sense of community involvement, and we like to help all groups, but it seems like every cause seems to have something that's close to our hearts. And in this particular one, I've got a friend whose dad was afflicted with Parkinson's, and I saw the impact on their family and his mother and those kind of things. And so it's kind of near and dear to my heart.
As it is for many other folks in this area. Thank you again, Jim. If you folks want to come out and enjoy Tapped Out, it is on until 9 p.m. this evening. Back to you guys in studio, where we will look at the question of the day.
All right, so our question of the day today, what do you most procrastinate? And some of the responses we got, Taxes, they haven't done those.
It's a big thing right now.
It's a pretty big deal as we're getting into tax season. Running out of gas, so they kind of procrastinated getting gas for their
that's
car.
a good one, actually.
That is a good one, because I do that too, because it's like, oh, I think I'll be okay, then it's like, oh no.
And the gas light's on, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna play this game where I gamble if I'm gonna make it to a gas station.
I'm too paranoid. I can't do that. I have to go, like, even if it's on, I'm like, okay, yeah, I need
When
to
do
know.
you go to fill up? Like half usually, or less
Quarter.
than? Quarter?
Quarter.
That's the lowest you'll go?
It depends on if I'm going to Edmonton, and then if I'm at half, I might risk
Yeah.
it, and then I might have to go fill it up. But
It's a scary play, yeah, that's true.
school's another one too, just as another common one for most younger people that
True.
Don't want to
Don't get
do
their
what they
homework
do.
done in time.
I've learned over the years, you can't do that. I've matured and learned, even going into college, and it still didn't work. It still didn't
Takes
work.
a while. Takes a while to get
It
used
takes
to
a while
Yeah.
indeed. Well, it's that time of the show right now where we get to take a look at your pets, because this is always a fun time for our on the show here. So this is Gus.
Super
Submitted
cute.
there by Tammy. Look at all that fur,
That's his
all that
toy,
fluffy.
yeah.
This is Nira, submitted there by Lisa. Very pretty dog there.
Ready for a spring walk.
Yeah, exactly. Next is Patrick and Sully. Nice little duo sitting
like
on
this
the
photo.
on the shelf
Yeah.
there. Next we have Indo. Very,
Cute
very
face,
adorable. Submitted
yeah.
there by Shaylin. And last but not least, this is Blue. Submitted by Lana. Look at those ears.
Yeah.
And that face, though.
Yeah, so
very,
cute.
Very cute. Well, if your pet was shown on today, you're automatically entered to win a Lloydminster Pet Pack gift card, which we're giving away at the end of the week.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Another edition of our candidates profiles, and today I'm pleased to be joined by UCP candidate for Bonnyville, Cold Lake, and St. Paul, Mr. David Hanson. Why should people vote for you, Dave?
Well, I think my experience in the House in opposition for the last 4 years, and I've got 37 years in the oil and gas industry, so I'm well acquainted with what people are going through up here and what they're trying to live through in this last 4 years with the NDP government. So.
In this area, a lot of people are hurting, unemployment skyrocketing, a lot of people not having jobs, a lot of companies shutting down. How do you plan to get people back to work?
Well, just to clarify on that, we saw an interesting stat. Just in the town of Bonnyville alone, the oil company investment has dropped from over $700 million in 2017 to just over $300 million in 2018. And the stats show that there's 80 less companies to deal with just in the Bonnyville area. So that's very, very concerning. Another thing that I'm seeing is normally when you're out campaigning and you're putting up campaign signs, you're competing with other, trying to find spots to compete with other campaigns. But we're trying to find spots where there aren't for sale signs. It's very, very concerning.
Do you think a lot of that has to do with the carbon tax? Because I know a lot of people that I've heard from don't like paying it. It's an extra 7 cents. We were talking to GasBuddy.com petroleum analyst Dan McTagg, an extra 7 cents on fuel. What are your thoughts on the carbon tax?
Well, our feeling is that's going to be bill number one as soon as we get elected, is to cancel the carbon tax. So by June 1st, there will be no more carbon tax in Alberta. And, it affects everybody. We tried to get exemptions for school boards, for charitable organizations, and the NDP voted them down. And that's all written on, it's on paper, it's in Hansard. We got them to do standing votes. They all stood up and voted against exempting a food bank from a carbon tax. Like, how can you be proud of that stat?
Speaking of school boards and teachers, your candidate opponent, NDP candidate Carrie Wan, has said countless times you're going to cut teachers. Is that true?
That's absolutely false. Absolutely false. We're not making any cuts to education at all. The biggest threat to school teachers and education up in this area is the carbon tax, for one. And I can give you an example. One of the school boards paid over $210,000 last year just to heat buildings. Another $70,000 went to the busing in the form of carbon tax for their fuel. That's the equivalent of 3 teaching jobs or minimum 10 support staff in the schools. That's what's going to hurt education in our area.
Dave, what are you hearing at the doors going out door knocking?
Well, very positive. We knocked on a bunch of doors up here in Cold Lake today, and we painted one block blue. It was a sign at just about every house, anybody that was home at that anyway, and we left some brochures for those that weren't. A couple of things that we did here was some concern that about vote splitting from some of these fringe parties that are showing up, and some anger toward that.
What are people most concerned about, the key issue that you're hearing at the doors?
jobs, the economy, carbon tax. It's pretty simple, and pipelines, right? Of course, I think pipelines is the strong point because that's going to fix a lot of the economy issues, job issues as well.
How do you plan to get a pipeline in when the federal government is kind of saying, I don't know if we want one?
Well, you know what? I'm not convinced that our current government is actually fighting for pipelines. I've compared Minister Phillips and Premier Notley to Stampede Wrestling when it comes to fighting for pipelines. I think it's a joke, really. 4 years ago they were out campaigning against pipelines, and now they're all of a sudden for pipelines because it's in their best interest.
Dave, really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much.
That's UCP candidate Dave Hansen. We got an election coming up April 16th. For Primetime Local News, I'm Justin Marshall.
Furniture supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
I am joined with Beth Bernard today, the organizer of Art Battle. And now I don't really know much about this, and I kind of saw it come up on What's Happening in Lloydminster, and I thought it was such a cool thing. So do you want to just kind of explain what the Art Battle is and what it's all about?
Sure. Art Battle is a live painting competition. Cool. They have them all over the world. It consists of 12 artists, 3 20-minute rounds, and 1 winner.
Very cool. So when the artists come in, do they kind of know, is it like, because it's a battle, are they given like a certain task or a certain subject that they have to paint, and then it kind of goes from there? Or how does it kind of break down?
They are not. They can paint pretty much anything that they want to paint,
cool.
Keeping it family appropriate.
Yep.
And some of them really plan what they're going to do. Some of them have no idea until they step up to the canvas. So.
That's so cool. And then, so with Art Battle, if people want to kind of go watch, how do they get involved? How do they get tickets? All that kind of stuff.
Right. So tickets are available on Eventbrite.
Okay.
We have a Facebook event page, so you can also link right there to tickets. Mm-hmm. We have early bird tickets on sale until April 27th.
Awesome.
And then after that, they're full price.
Perfect. And with this, is this kind of the first, or how many times have we done an Art Battle here in Lloydminster?
So this one will be the second one.
Yeah.
We had one back in January, and then we're also hoping to have one again in the fall.
Very cool. And why is this something that you're very passionate about, and why is this something that you thought maybe Lloydminster needed as a city?
So I owned a store in downtown Lloydminster with 2 partners. It was called the Collective Art Market.
Right, yeah.
We recently closed that store, but through that we sold local artwork, and we really developed and built on the already existing art community that was here in Lloydminster. When we closed the store, we really wanted to keep the momentum that we had gained going. And one of the artists that sold artwork in the store actually competed in Art Battle in Edmonton and went on to compete in nationals last year. So
wow. So this is kind of like a movement that it's not only just it happens here or it happens in different cities. It's kind of a global thing.
Yeah, it happens all over the world. Yeah.
Very cool. And so with the artists, can you tell me a little bit about kind of the artists that are coming that people can expect to see, or is it supposed to be a surprise?
It's not a surprise.
Okay.
We do have some artists lined up already, but we also have spots open.
Oh, cool.
So for anybody that's thinking about, that's seen it and thought about competing it, or seen like YouTube videos or whatever, I would encourage them to please register to compete, because we do have spots to fill still.
Yeah.
We have a few artists lined up for this one already. We have some artists that are well known in town. We have some that people might not have seen or heard of before. So
that's very cool. So even if you're not particularly, maybe you've never tried something like this before, like you said, there's no real requirements, right? So if you want to kind of give it a shot, that's something that you can register for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And quickly, just with this Art Battle, what is kind of your hope and your goal for it? You'd like to kind of continue it on, but what is something that you kind of want to see happen with this Art Battle?
So with the art battles, one of the greatest things is that the audience gets to get involved.
Oh,
they
cool.
get to vote for the winners in each round. So it's a really, really cool way to get the public to see the artists at work, to see what's involved in what they do. They all have very different styles and different techniques. And so it's very, very cool to see the public get educated on what it takes to do a painting like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I thank you so much for coming in today, Beth, sorry. And I just think it's a really awesome thing. And if people are interested, you can definitely go online and get those tickets. But yeah, thank you so much for coming in today.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime.
We're wrapping up here from Three Trees Tap and Kitchen, but the event Tapped Out is going until 9 p.m. this evening, so come down and grab a beer or other alcoholic beverages from Fourth Meridian Brewery and Ribstone Creek Brewery. Also try out their excellent food. These bacon-wrapped steak bites are to die for. I'm going to enjoy this. Back to you guys in studio. Very good.
Josh, you better bring some of that food back for us, I swear.
He never does.
No, he
never
doesn't.
does.
He never
From
did the
hockey
Bobcats game. I
games.
just like his face. His eyes widened up. It looked really
And we
good
never
there.
get the popcorn or anything.
No, we do
I
not.
know.
Well, let's take a look at your 7-day forecast one last time here. 9 degrees on Thursday, cloud cover with a lot of cloud coverage. 9 degrees also on Friday, where the sun should pop up a little bit more. 13 degrees on Saturday with mostly cloudy and a bit of sun there. 14 degrees, the sun will come out a little bit more with a sun and cloud mix, the high of 14. 11 degrees on both Monday, Tuesday. Tuesday we'll see more sun than Monday. Monday we'll have the majority of cloud coverage there. And 13 degrees on Wednesday with our daytime high and the low of 1. I mean,
not bad temperatures at all.
no, it's not.
No.
I'm still rattled about Josh eating that. I love steak
We're all
bites.
hungry in here. Now
we
we're
are
gonna go
hungry.
eat. Have you been to the tap house?
I've been to it when it was Rock Creek, actually,
was
once,
good.
one time.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. I was there recently, actually. It's quite good. Now that Josh is there, maybe I'll have to go grab some food now that I'm thinking about it. So.
He needs to come back with
He
something,
won't.
or we're gonna.
He won't.
It's
It's not
gonna be
happen.
anarchy at
You'll
some
have
point.
to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's gonna do it for us here tonight. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have yourselves a great night.
Yeah, have a good night.